No sleep till bum 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 bum. No sleep till. Testing, testing. Okay. Cool. What is going?
I would sing, but I don't know the words.
What is happening? I see a lot of buffalo plaid. I'm freaking out.
That was really smooth, I thought.
What is happening?
I'm officially Canadian.
Well, welcome to the club.
I've joined your clan.
Don't you just love it? Welcome to the great side.
Oh, it was a blast. I got you this backpack.
Wait, that's mine?
It's full of Canadian shit. Here you go.
I got a whole... Can I open it?
Oh, yeah, please. I figure now that we finally have a video element to this, it's less annoying for people.
It's been 2 years, and people have never been able to watch me open anything.
And somehow they still deal with all our gift exchanges. I don't know how or why.
Well, we're going to find out. I want to adjust this so everyone can see my face the right way.
All right,
the
let's
best
see.
version of my reaction.
I hope I remember what the hell I put in there.
I do want to say there's nothing I love more than I call... I'm sure I've said it on the show before, but I have a specific aesthetic that I like to call nature cozy, and pretty much if there's buffalo plaid at all, it fits.
Oh yeah, the number of times I told Blaze everything was nature cozy, and he caught on to the fact that Eve and I invented funeral chic when we were in New Orleans.
Love funeral chic, by the way.
A combo of the two is just bananas.
It's just like dead in a cabin. That's funeral chic and nature cozy mixed together.
That's actually one of my stories, I feel like.
Oh, wait, good. Oh, wait, okay. So here we go. Okay. I already appreciate this backpack. I'll wear it everywhere.
So just open it up. I don't know. Yeah, this backpack says Canada on it too.
Does it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I figure it was pretty on brand.
And how nature cozy is this? Not to sound like Ida Garden, but it's printed on leather.
It is.
So that makes it extra nature cozy.
Yes, so it is a buffalo. For those listening who just want to kill us right now, this is a buffalo plaid backpack.
Entirely, but there's not like a smattering of buffalo plaid. The whole thing is a big fucking checkerboard. Next, I see a little moose.
Oh yeah, he's a Nova Scotian moose.
And it's okay. So it's a little moose. It's got another checkerboard buffalo plaid bandana. Love it. I already love everything about it. And one of his antlers says Halifax, Nova Scotia, which one is where Christine was, and two,
most importantly,
the reason I'm in love with Canada, and I don't want to explain the reason why, but I'm going to because otherwise people are going to ask. There was a video a long time ago on YouTube when I was 12, and I thought it was hysterical, and it was all about Halifax, and I watched it every day for my entire 12-year-old life, and that was when I decided I was going to move to Canada one day.
And before you judge, we all watched that video of someone saying Badger 40,000 times, and that got 1 million views, so... I
was really into the video, and I wish I could remember It was the same people who did that viral video when we were in high school called Power Thirst. They did, it's called Halifax. That video made me fall in love with Canada, so I really don't like the reasoning behind it, but I still
love the reason. It's
but
so
anyway,
random.
The fact that the antler says Halifax on it is just like a little stamp of approval that I've made full circle here.
Yes, I went pretty wild in all the... Here, I'll hold it.
Okay, yeah. Next, I already see what I love.
Right.
My Canadian ruffles.
Oh, yeah.
The all dressed, which the Canadians hate that Americans say this. It does taste like barbecue to me.
It does.
But it's really tasty. I'm going to eat the hell out of them.
We'll love barbecue.
Apparently, it's like red pepper and onion, and it's got a whole bunch of things going on.
They also have ketchup flavor, but I was
the all dressed is the Canadian way.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you for that. I'm going to eat those not on the show so people don't complain.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God, there's so much stuff.
I'm sorry, there's a lot of shit.
Oh, what is going on?
Oh my God, do you know about this?
No.
Holy crap. I was like, I wonder if Em knows about the Titanic.
I know about the Titanic.
In Halifax. That's
no.
where all the victims of the Titanic are buried. You didn't know this either?
No.
Blaze and I were like, why are they so obsessed with the Titanic? And then we went on a ghost tour, obviously. And they were like, oh yeah, all of the victims, it was the closest port, so they were all brought here.
Get out.
Some of them like were buried at sea. Some of them were brought back home to wherever they were from. And a lot of them, the remainder were all buried in cemeteries in Halifax.
Get out of here.
And so this is, anyway, it's a Titanic Times in the Halifax, or the Times of Halifax, which also they had an explosion. It was the largest man-made explosion before Hiroshima.
Oh, wait, that was in the Halifax video on YouTube.
So they talk about that, but not the Titanic?
Probably.
So, but yeah, so 2,000 people died. It was insane.
So is this like a copy of the paper from that
like the day? Yeah, the day it happened.
Wow. It does, it's the Times of Halifax, and then the headline is Titanic sinks 4 hours after hitting iceberg.
It was like the closest to Halifax. Isn't that wild? I had no idea.
Wow. And also kind of, I mean, fucked up / ingenious marketing to keep selling this.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely would want
They
one.
seem pretty popular. They were low on stock, so I bought one, obviously.
There's a lot of fucked up people out there. I'm included. You're included. Thank you for spending your money on that. I'll enjoy it forever. What's next? This little box that says...
Oh, that's a...
Oh, it's from Starbucks. Been There series.
Oh, yeah, open it.
Across the Globe collection ornament.
It's super cute.
It's a little baby Canada mug. Oh, you know I love things that are proportionally not accurate.
You know, I was going to buy the real big mug, and I was like, no, this one's cute because you can just hang it wherever. You don't need to feel like you're lugging around.
It's got little mousse, and it's got syrup on it. It's got mittens. It's got hockey stuff. It's got
poutine on it.
It's got it does, and it's got a little beanie and a ski mask and a Mounties hat.
Yeah, I thought it was just kind of cute. I was like, I have to...
I mean, I'm gonna do a lot of shots of chocolate milk out of this bad boy.
Some espresso.
For the people watching on YouTube, this is how tiny it is. I feel like the Hulk when I carry it. That's another reason why I'm in love. I can't ask for more, except I can, and it's probably in this bag.
Oh God, there's so much in there. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have you hold that.
Yep.
Guys, this is like...
And then I found the backpack and I went, hell yeah, just put it all in.
Loving this. Is this an eyeglass pouch?
Oh, that's definitely from the Canadian dollar store. I had to buy some stuff at the Canadian dollar store.
Why wouldn't you?
This was I bought two things. That was one of them. It's just an eyeglasses case. I just thought it was funny.
Oh, no, I'm going to put my glasses in this.
Perfection.
For sure. I didn't know if you hid something in here.
You know, I should have, but I didn't. That was my last stop, so those are...
I love that you went to a dollar store. Although, is it USD or is it Canada dollars?
No, Canada dollars.
All right, good to know.
So that was what?
Oh, on the outside of this backpack, I learned is big buffalo plaid, and on the inside is little buffalo plaid.
I did not know that.
Look at that, double entendre, if you will.
Definitely what that word means.
Exactly. Here are
these are fun.
Plaid coasters.
So that's the Nova Scotian plaid specifically.
Stop it.
Do you know what Nova Scotia means?
New Scotland.
But yes,
all
close.
Right. Took a guess.
Latin for New Scotland, and so they are really into plaid. Because of Scotland.
Listen,
and that's
Christine.
a local, and those are coasters, but they're the local Nova Scotian plaid.
I'm sweating. This is really...
I'm also sweating because I put on this Canadian sweatshirt and it's hot.
I saw you come in here with a sweatshirt and I was like, that's a rookie mistake.
So they have this brand there called Roots, which I'm sure all you Canadians are like, duh. But like, we don't really have this here. And apparently I looked it up and they're opening like 3 stores in LA. So I was like, I better get in on the ground floor.
Oh my God.
Before
Gotta
this is
go.
like a hit. But so
Can I be weird and touch your boobs area? Because that's fuzzy
wouldn't
looking.
be the first time. Yeah, touch it.
That's nice.
It's a little beaver. He's just like a little felty beaver.
Yep.
Touch my beaver.
I thought it. I wasn't going to say it.
I felt you feel it, so I thought I'd throw it out there.
Just announce that I touched the beaver on your boobs.
Everyone on YouTube comments.
Oh my goodness. All right. So I appreciate the shit out of these. They're a very lovely plaid. Is this like that's trademarked Nova Scotia plaid?
Yes, that is there. So like Montreal has a different plaid.
Get out of here.
This is the Nova Scotian plaid.
I'm going to be that weird grandpa one day that just collects plaid swatches.
Oh, please. I almost bought you because we were at the airport in Montreal and Toronto, and I was like, what if I bought
Do they all have their own trademark?
Yes, man.
Get the fuck out of here.
I know, I was losing it.
Well, now I found something I'm going to start collecting, and everyone's going to hate me for it.
I'm glad I started. I'm going to love it, because it feels like it's an easy gift.
Easy. Thank you. And next, I see more buffalo plaid. Are these just napkins?
Oh, those are just fun napkins with a moose.
I love it. Is this the dollar store?
No, that was actually the touristy store.
Oh, I'm down. There's a white silhouette of a moose, and in cursive, it says Canada on buffalo plaid napkins.
I just figured, I don't know.
Well, what's interesting, actually, is that these come in perfect timing because my birthday this year, Christine surprised me with my lumberjack nature cozy birthday party where I took home all of the buffalo plaid napkins. And last week, I finished out that pack of napkins, and now I have more buffalo plaid napkins.
You
now.
literally mentioned that, and subconsciously I think I remembered because I was like, Em needs napkins. And I was like, why the fuck would Em need napkins?
I need plain paper napkins.
I'm the messy one in this relationship.
I see some chocolate coins.
Oh, those are loonies. Those are chocolate loonies. Those are the other
loonies.
dollar store purchase.
I don't know what that is. A loony.
Oh, Em, gosh, you have so much to learn. Okay, a loony is their $1.
Oh,
And a
Really?
And a toonie is their $2
so
coin.
a loony toonie.
Uh-huh.
You've got to be kidding me.
I'm not.
So is there a dollar store called a loony store?
No, but it should be.
It certainly should be, and they should have Bugs Bunny just selling these.
It was called a Dollarama, but
Good
I
enough.
saw chocolate loonies, and I actually brought you a loony and a toonie, but they're downstairs somewhere.
Oh, I love a good loony and a toonie.
I had to do it. So
How
those
did
are-
I not, as someone who loves things that rhyme, and cartoons, and Canada,
and also claims that they are a local of Halifax.
I'm such a local, I don't even have to know the culture, you know?
But so yeah, you don't used to like touristy stuff.
Yeah, I stay away from the
You don't
touristy
need
stuff.
to know about Titanic. And...
Ignore my giant bag of touristy stuff
Looney
right in my
Toonies.
lap. And here it is.
Oh yeah, there it is.
I knew one
I
was
hope this
coming my
fits.
way. Oh, I did not know this. Oh, wait, there's more stuff in here.
Oh, there is. There's
Holy
another
shit,
pocket.
Christine. Okay, well, in the last big part of it, there is a sweatshirt that looks like something I'm going to wear for the rest of my life and nothing else. I see patches of buffalo plaid everywhere. It's a zip up. It says Halifax, Nova Scotia. There's a nice little trimming on the bottom.
Look, we can match. Look at my trimming.
Stop it.
I
Wait,
know.
it literally is the
We
same
matched
trimming. Was this from the same store?
No,
Oh.
this is from the root store.
That's weird because it's literally the same trimming.
I know. I think
Maybe
they
it's a
just,
Canada
I think
thing.
they just like that there.
I'm not
hope
going to
it
wear it now
fits.
because it's so fucking hot.
I walked around with it with 2 different sizes, trying them on, and I
Which size did you get? Oh yeah, it'll fit.
okay.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
A quadruple.
And if it doesn't fit, I'll
XL.
fucking make it work.
An XS.
It's actually an 8X.
double XS.
All right. Thank you for. By the way, I have not thanked you
No,
nearly enough.
oh my gosh, I'm glad that.
I'm just blacking out
so
actually.
now this is the front pocket.
A little jug of maple
I
syrup,
had to get the local.
which I'm out of Canadian maple syrup. You Canadians, by the way, I know you're like stereotypically nice, but you guys really are bananas nice. When we had my show, by the way, in Canada, not our show.
you were in the pajamas.
Listen,
bodysuit.
we know who was steamrolling who on that stage, and it was me.
I was silent.
When we had the show that Christine like guest starred on in Canada, so many of you brought me Canadian syrup, and I have blown through all of it.
Also, Canadians are so nice with gifts. Like, you guys mail us gifts, and I'm like, these are international. Like, it's expensive, but you somehow mail us syrup all the time. So we have a lot of syrup.
Keep it coming, because wow, do I fucking love your syrup. All
Yeah.
right. Next up is something I've never seen in my life.
So that's a local candy, too. A Canadian candy.
It's called Eat More.
So I looked up the most popular candy or most common, like, most Canadian candies.
Sure.
And a lot of them were, like, from Cadbury or, like, British companies, but this
Right.
is one of them.
I've never seen this, ever. Dark Toffee Peanut Chew. Sounds right up my alley.
I don't know. I was just at the groceries. These are from...
Why were you in so many random convenience stores in
Because
Canada?
Blaze had a conference, and I was in 7... I went to 4 tourist stores, and 3, like, a grocery store for the chips and the candy.
On Christine's anniversary, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
This was on her wedding day.
Dollar store.
I'm going to consider this your annual thank you for literally marrying you and Blaze.
Literally texted me, like, this better become a tradition. And I was like, God.
Every year I would like something as my thank you for making it
I was
all
like,
possible.
Thank God it's only the paper anniversary this year, because the diamond one's going to be a riot.
I would like a diamond the size of Canada. Thank
you
you
said
kindly.
I would like a diamond the size of Canada,
Or a diamond in the shape of Canada, or something like
or
that.
Canada the size of... I don't know what the fuck you said. It didn't make any sense, but I loved it.
This is something from Jennifer's of Nova
Yeah,
Scotia.
that's another store I went to.
Is
I
that
went
a
to lot of
common
stores.
thing?
I
What is
don't,
it?
I don't
What is
know. It
this?
was just like a local handmade store
Okay, I'm down.
in Halifax.
Where are we going with this?
This was the first thing I bought. I don't even remember anymore.
Oh, it's a little ornament.
With the Nova Scotian plaid, but read the little thing. It made
It's
me
there's a little Nova Scotia plaid stocking ornament, and there's a little bear in there. He looks way happy.
way cozy, nature cozy.
Nature cozy. And the sign says, I am a Nova Scotia bear, here to bring you lots of cheer, to wish you well in all you do, so happiness will follow you. Listen, you're from Canada. You're going to do nothing but good wishes for me. But I love the reminder. Thank you. This little bear is so sweet.
I know you don't need like a million ornaments, but
I'll find a reason for them. Allison's going to hate me, and I don't care.
oh, she's gonna hate me. Duh. You got me 2 mugs for my birthday after we vowed to never buy each other a mug ever again.
We have
so
both of our partners have made it very clear we're not allowed to
Very.
buy another mug ever again. Same with
Very
Eva,
clear.
and yet all three of us always come home with new mugs.
Listen, I bought a mini one. That doesn't count.
Okay, I'm just grabbing all these at one time, but I'm just gonna look at them individually.
Okay, so right,
All right,
here
so
we go.
this. Perfect.
It's just like
it's a little decal of Halifax, which will be on my car today.
I figured like laptop, car, or whatever you want.
Car. If you want to know what my car looks like, it'll have this on the bumper.
People seem to find your car because it literally has the most M shit on it.
Yeah, a lot of people have literally found my car and taken pictures of it and then DM me on Instagram saying, I found your car. That means you're nearby, right? And it's terrifying.
Posted your license plate on the internet.
LOL. A little luggage decal, which will be going on my suitcase. That is the Canadian flag. I thank you. I love a good box of Smarties.
Yeah, these are
AKA Canadian / European M&Ms. Better M&Ms, dare I say. I love Arrow.
So these are the most like,
This is like
Canadian
the
candies I saw on a list.
Arrow is some good ass chocolate, and it's got the popping sensation.
I love a good Arrow.
Love a good Arrow.
Now this is something that I found in a store not in Halifax. It was in Mahone Bay, and there was this little ribbon, and I was still pretty bitter that I haven't been verified on Instagram, and you have, so I bought you this ribbon.
It says most likes on Instagram, #NoFilter.
It felt like I was being followed around by my shame, and so
Your Canadian shame.
I couldn't escape it.
It was just me, like my Canadian spirit, just following you around, being like,
Truly.
I am verified, and you're in Canada, and I hate you.
Yes, and I literally kept checking because I'd requested it a few days before I left. By the way, in case you guys are wondering, I got rejected for it like 5 days after M got approved. And so nobody seems to...
A lot of people have been saying, why isn't Christine... It's not because we're not trying. It's not...
And then they're like, Christine, you have to request it. I was like, oh, what a novel idea. I'm like, I got the podcast verified, but I can't get myself verified.
No, you just gotta be cute, Christine. That's the problem.
Anyway.
You haven't succeeded in that
I
part
can't do it. It's too much work. So here
Well,
we are.
Thank you for all of this. I am at a loss of words.
I was like, I know there's a lot of things you probably don't need more of, but I figure at least
I
you can
did.
use
I actually
the
need-
napkins and the coasters.
I needed all of it. And I'm sure Blaze was like, this is what happens when I leave you alone in your best friend's favorite country
Correct.
on our anniversary
Correct.
to go to a conference.
Yes.
I'm glad that I was on the forefront of your mind on your
He
wedding
was
day.
learning how to intubate people, which, by the way, I had to learn about over dinner. So that was my punishment for all of this, was that I had to learn how to put tubes down
Your
people's...
punishment, you really did.
Ugh.
Your punishment was a gift to me. This is just bananas.
Yeah, I
I
had to
love
bring-
this little moosey.
I brought an empty suitcase for the very purpose of buying presents. So here
That makes
we
me
go.
happy. It's like you're on tour all over again.
It is.
When we were on tour, Christine would always bring an empty suitcase because we would get so many wonderful, wonderful gifts from people.
And everyone would be like, I was going to say Eva, but it was just Em being like, how many bags do you need? And I'm like, this one's literally empty because I'm the one who has to bring everything home and nobody else will help me. But
This is what happens when we decided on day one that your house would have the studio in it.
That's true. That was
All of
my
a sudden,
fault. You have to drive down. That's your punishment. My punishment is to yeah, you're right. You're right. I also
I just get to bring home the Canadian stuff.
We also do the gift videos here, so we really just load up in this house of stuff.
This is what happens when you
Lot of
get a
s-
house.
yeah,
Guys, stay in an apartment
Stay
and,
in a small space.
and you won't end up with extra suitcases of things.
it's true because you'll move in somewhere and you'll go, oh, this is so much space, we can't fit it.
And to be fair, all of the things that we get, one, we're super grateful for, but sometimes you get things like a haunted horse that brings in demons.
Yeah,
and that's why you should keep the apartment so that your co-host has to
That's
keep
what it,
the haunted
that's
horse.
what it is because
in
there's
her
no
house.
reason M should have it. I have a spare closet that now has ghosts in it, so
That's
that's
the
how it
truth.
works.
That's the truth.
You fill it. You have an empty house. You fill it with ghosts. It's just how logic and mathematics work. My dad's an engineer.
I'm
Trust
very
me.
jealous that Christine gets to like have all the candy and stuffed animals and cool books and paintings from everyone. But I would easily trade all of that for not having
And the hilarious
haunted
thing is,
demon
every
horse.
time Em leaves, I'm like, "Hey, do you want?" I was like, "No, you hold on to it."
It's already been tainted by the environment here.
Yeah. So
It's
when
like,
I
I'll
move
come
out,
here and look at it and admire it, and then you house it with your demons.
and then if I ever want it, I'll just come borrow it. That's like the ideal.
And then never give it
That's
back.
what you do with Geo. I'm like, I sit around like having to deal with walking him every day, and then you come over to like play, and then leaves. It's like
That's why they call me Funcle Em.
It really works out for your favor. So
One day you'll be Aunt Christine, and I'm gonna get such a punishment back. Karma's really gonna kick my ass that day.
It's gonna be a good.
You're gonna ruin my fucking
rip
dog.
roaring time.
Anyway, thank you for everyone watching and experiencing that.
Yes. Anyway, so I just wanted to give you some Canadian cheer, but I had a great time in Canada. Thank you. It was cold For me. I mean, it was
Sure.
like in the 40s at certain points and raining. But it was really lovely, and I feel like I finally got like fall, like it was beautiful and the fall leaves and everything. It was just a little chilly. Wasn't totally prepared.
I don't know what that means anymore. I forgot what chili feels like.
I packed for chili, and then I showed up and realized I had not even a little bit packed for chili. I was like, why on earth did I think this would be enough layers?
Well, it's like 80 degrees today, and I saw someone leave their apartment in a jacket because it's just has not even been that, quote, cold in so long.
Like, we lived in Boston. Like, we understand what cold is. It's just like you lose it.
You really do. I feel like I used to have tough skin. Like I used to walk around. We were there during the blizzard in 2014.
Yes.
And I feel like I had really tough skin then. But if I were to go back there and experience it now, I would be such a little baby.
Yeah, it's really sad how quickly you lose it. But
anyway, thank you for all of this. I'm surprised there was no fruit oolong.
I don't even know what that is.
Remember when I freaked out the first time I saw Canadian fruit by the foot?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't even look for that.
Lost my mind.
Fruit
I
oolong.
expected that a little bit, but it's okay. I ate literally like
they
2
don't
boxes
have a
of
foot
it.
there. They have a meter.
Fruit by the meter.
That would be way more fun.
They I remember when we went to Vancouver, I easily ate 1 to 2 to 3 boxes just on
boxes,
principle because
yes.
it looked. And my brain told me it tasted better too. I am a mess.
It probably does, though.
Anything in Canada's better. Sorry,
No.
I'm not.
You're
What the
not,
fuck was that?
As if you are. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I wrote some things down that I have to say before we get started. Otherwise, I'll forget.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so Oh, I wrote down, can I just tell you what Blaze got me for anniversary? Because I thought it was nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had our anniversary in Canada because Blaze had a conference and I just followed him there. And it was really nice. So it was technically our paper anniversary. We didn't know what to do with that. So he got me the vinyl of like our first dance song by Kit Moore, which was really sweet. And then he got me VIP tickets to this music festival called Innings Festival in Tempe, Arizona next year, where 3 of my favorite bands of all time are performing. I didn't even know about this. Death Cab for Cutie, Weezer, and Rainbow Kitten Surprise.
Oh my God.
You know I've been following around the country
We've
all year.
literally been following Rainbow Kitten Surprise for some.
It's
not to
insane.
gloss over how wonderful that gift is, but for people to understand. For some reason, we must have the same booking manager
I
or
think
something
so.
because every single time
Every
we've gone
venue.
to a venue, Rainbow Kitten Surprise was either just there
Like,
or they're
just
going
signed
to
a poster.
or like they're going to be there the week after us.
I just was like dying because I missed their whole fucking tour because we were on tour and I was like, God damn it. And so I missed their whole tour and I was so bummed about it. So Blaze found out they were doing this festival. Yes, thank you. And he bought like the platinum tickets. And I was like, oh my God, what does that mean? And it's like front row and all this stuff. And I was so excited. And I get to see Death Cab and Weezer and the Struts. And oh my gosh, it's going to be great. Anyway.
When is that?
When is that?
Do you know? I didn't mean to.
March.
Oh.
March.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Anyway, so
That's awesome.
yeah, it was fun.
I like how for him, like the paper years, like tickets or paper.
Yeah, tickets. He's like, well, he actually tried to order tickets, and they were like, oh yeah, you have to pay extra for hard copy tickets,
That's weird how the world's changing.
and they don't mail them until after the festival. So he's like, I just gave up and like printed it out instead. Here's paper.
Gotcha.
And then I got him a giant book of our wedding photos, which took me way too long to put together. And
I can confirm every time I've seen Christine put together a scrapbook,
God,
she
it's
gets
such a nightmare.
bananas intense with
I
it.
want every photo to be in it, but there's like 1,100 photos, so it's like this is never ending. So that was my fault. And then what else? Oh, and then you already saw the other one. It was like one of our wedding readings I had framed.
Yes.
The one Lisa read. So Lisa literally never escapes our house.
No.
What a surprise. Anyway, so it was really good, and I was really happy, and I wished you were there. I missed you the whole time, so instead I just went shopping.
Trust me, I wish I was in Canada.
No, I felt bad we didn't bring you, but I think Blaze probably wouldn't have, been super on board for that part. But
He would have been fine.
he would have actually probably been way fine.
You
but
really should have you were going without him inviting you. You just jumped on. I
That's-
should have done it too.
He wouldn't have been surprised by that addition.
No, I would have just shown up. I would have been actually folded into that empty suitcase that you brought for me.
That's true.
You would have said, I'm bringing it for M, but he didn't have to know it's because I was there.
And then I just unwrap the buffalo plaid, and there you are, rolled out.
I just pop out like in a cake or something.
It's the buffalo plaid anniversary.
That is exactly what it is. Yes.
And also I wanted to add that I was just recently on Adam Ferrara's podcast. Adam Ferrara? Ferrara.
Well,
I think it's Ferrara.
they'll let us know.
Adam Ferrara's podcast, where we talked about, he told me to call him Adam. So I was like, oh, we're on first name basis.
Okay.
No, he and his wife are super great. We talked about true crime and ghosty things, and he's obsessed with forensic files. So we had that in common, and he's friends with Lisa. So we talked about how his friend, who's another host on the show, has like a ghost who stands over his bed at night.
Perfect.
So we talked about that. It's really spooky, but it's called Adam Ferrara. Yeah, it is Ferrara. Adam Ferrara podcast. And I was on that. And then real quick, I just wanted to add that Discover Pods is seeking nominations for their 2019 Podcast Awards. They have a kids and family podcast section. Last year, CK, Classic Kevin's show Mirths and Monsters, got to the finalists section, but didn't win. So I'm hoping maybe we can get him further this year. Voting ends like this Tuesday when this comes out.
Okay,
so I already voted, but I urge you guys to go vote because it's such a good show and he's such a good friend of ours, and it would be just so awesome to get him further than the finals this year. And that is at awards.discoverpods.com.
Boom.
Boom. Sorry.
Help out CK.
Help out CK because he helps us out so much and does all our bonus shows on Patreon and like has just been a listener since like episode 1 probably.
Truly.
Like really one of our first listeners ever where we were like, do you know this person? No.
Nope.
Do you? No.
Nope.
So anyway.
One day he just followed both of us on Twitter and we didn't know what was going on.
He's like, love your show. And we're like, who are you?
Your best friend and your worst nightmare and you just don't even know it yet.
And he touched the chair, remember? The haunted chair.
Oh.
And he's around to
That's why we have to stay on his good side in case he gets possessed or something.
Carries a curse.
Well, is that all?
That's it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like just word vomit once again.
For the next like month, don't get to complain about anything with all these gifts in front of me. Let's see. What to talk about today? Oh yeah, my notes. Okay. So this is a fun story that someone recommended to me. Damn it, I forgot to write it down. Actually, hang on a second. Maybe I have it in my backpack.
I thought you meant the Canada backpack. I was like, how could you possibly have it in the buffalo plaid?
No.
Oh my god.
Hang on a sec.
You know what? Em's just going to tell me. I'll put it on the YouTube.
Yeah, I will. Well, because I wrote it down and then it doesn't matter.
Oh, Em. Okay, well, I'll just have Eva
Someone recommended it on Twitter.
Tell Eva to put it in the show notes. I'll put it on the YouTube.
Okay, Eva. I'm texting you in the next 45 minutes. Okay. So this is a story that's actually close to where I went to school. For those who don't know, I went to school in a town of Virginia called Newport News.
Just look at Em's car. You'll find out.
You will. Well, that's how a lot of people have found me. Actually, wait, and now I have a thing that I want to say, now that you've mentioned that.
Okay.
I actually made 2 friends this week.
Oh.
And I've already hung out with them twice.
What's that like?
It's new. But I've hung out with both of them for several hours at a time, both times, and we never like lost conversation, and we've like really bonded because I was driving through LA. I won't say where, but I was driving through LA, and
I saw your post.
Yeah, I went to a school called CNU. If you are not from Virginia, you probably don't know what that school is. It's fine. But I was driving by and there was this car parked on the side of the street that had like 4 different like CNU decals on it. And I like halted my car and I had to pull over to be like, what is going on? I've never seen another person from CNU out here. And he still had his decal from when he was a student there. And so it showed the year that like decal was valid for parking. And it said class of 2014. And I was like, I'm class of 2014. And this school is not large. Like I was like, if I don't know him, I at least know 20 people who know him. So I wrote a note and left it on his windshield saying like, let's be friends. And then I left my Instagram handle.
To be like, I'm verified. Are you?
No, so he could reach out to me without me giving him my number. Mm-hmm. And he ends up reaching out a couple hours later. And that night we hung out. And he was like, oh, I'll bring my girlfriend. She also went to CNU and is from our year.
Whoa.
And I found them on Facebook. And before I even met them, I like was creeping on them and found out that we had like 60 mutual friends.
60?
60.
Holy.
And
what are the odds of that?
Very,
and
very
that you don't
slim.
know them.
Yeah, I didn't know them, but we knew so many people in between us. And I found out that we were in some of the same classes together. We went to the same restaurants all the time on the same days together.
That's bizarre.
Like we were definitely in rooms together and never met. And but yeah, so it's very weird. It's still a new friendship, so I'm afraid like as I'm manifesting this into the world, they're going to ghost me tonight. But so far so good, and we've the camera just cut out, but I just want to say all because of some CNU decals on a car. Now I have 2 new friends. So don't make fun of my decals. Maybe it'll get me somewhere.
Does someone want to be my friend?
No, not even me. I'm just stuck at this point. Earlier, and we pay Eva to be your friend.
I was talking about something and I was like, yeah, oh God, I was so nervous. And you were like, yeah, for someone without social anxiety. And I was like,
well,
it's no wonder I have no fucking friends.
No. We were talking about something where like anyone with social anxiety would have probably would have been nervous in that situation. And I don't suffer from social anxiety. And I remember telling you, as someone without social anxiety, I was freaked out. So you definitely would have been freaked out.
I stopped hearing you after that first.
You just decided caveat. It wasn't an attack.
I went, what? I just went, I don't understand what that means, but okay, sure.
No, I was saying anyone would be uncomfortable in that scenario.
Well, maybe that's why you're verified.
Maybe that's why. That's exactly it, actually. I called Instagram since I don't have social anxiety.
Christine 2020.
No, I did not call Instagram. Nobody asked me what their number is. Okay, so
Instagram. Yeah, actually ask me because I'll give you like a random. I'll give you M's number and be like, here, call Instagram.
Don't you dare give anyone my number. So, anyways, so back to CNU / Newport News, Virginia. It's in the Hampton Roads area where if you are from Virginia, you already knew that. But it's near Virginia Beach, and so this person on Twitter reached out and said, hey, there's this urban legend of a witch in Virginia Beach. So can you cover that? So I said, of course I can.
Yeah.
So this is the story of the Witch of Pungo.
Pongo?
It's now Virginia Beach, but it used to be called Pongo. Fun fact.
They should never have changed that.
Never, ever.
No.
Love the sound of it.
That's a good one.
So it's, like I said, it's now Virginia Beach, but fun fact, it used to be called Pongo, also be called Princess Anne County, which is interesting because as someone who grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, one of our main streets that everyone knows is called Princess Anne. So it was just kind of a little nod where I was like, oh, I've heard that before.
Okay.
Also, there's another fun fact about Fredericksburg coming up.
I can't
at
wait.
The end of this story. It's only fun for me and anyone who lives within 30 miles
and
of
your new
Fredericksburg.
Friend.
And my new friend.
Can I know his name or no?
His name's Ed.
Ed?
And his girlfriend's name is Haley.
Ed and Haley.
And both of them are wonderful. And they found out after hanging out with me that I had a podcast. And Haley was like, so I listened to one of the episodes. And she meant it in a good way before anyone gets all up in arms. But she was like, I don't think I'm going to keep listening. And she meant it in like, I want to get to know you organically, not find out about you through the show.
Oh my God, no. Tell her to never meet with you until she catches up.
Well, it's probably for the best. Can you imagine if you just became friends with me and then find out through another avenue that I was a fucking clown and a reverend and all that?
Yes, I can imagine because that's literally what happened to me. But thank you for reminding the world of it.
But so she was like, I don't think I'm going to listen to it anymore because I feel like I learned a lot about you in that, and like you weren't there to like help break down the context of it. And I was like, that's a fair argument.
And also that other girl was just shrieking the whole time. And I could
feel her sweating on me.
I can't get past it. Yeah, I bet.
So, The Witch of Pungo. It is set in the early 1700s in Prince Anne County / Pongo, Virginia, which is now Virginia Beach. Our main character, her name is Grace White Sherwood. She was alive from 1660 to 1740, and this story takes place where she's in her 40s. She is believed to be a witch in Virginia, and this was around the same time as the Salem witch trials, but Virginia was much different than Salem during these times. Virginia was much more conservative about claiming people were witches. They believed in like having some sort of like structure before just claiming someone was a witch.
That's nice.
Yeah, go to Virginia.
Novel idea.
So for example, in Virginia courts, the accuser, someone like saying Christine's a witch, I would need proof.
Just by example.
Just as an example, like if I told you Christine's a witch, which she obviously is.
Sweaty witch.
I would need in a Virginia court to have proof before they would even take it seriously.
Fortunately, you have plenty of that.
I look in this room. There's so many like pentagrams and spell books.
I literally have haunted dolls.
You have a haunted horse hiding in your closet right now.
Literally, once again, Funcle Em strikes back. I can't win.
Wait, someone make a movie cover of that.
And just me being defeated. I don't know. Just on the ground.
Just you in the corner crying.
Just on the ground.
So I would need proof, but in Salem courts, the person who was being accused of being a witch had to have proof of otherwise for it to be taken seriously.
Okay, well that's nice. That's more than normal, I feel like.
So like if in Virginia, I would have to have proof that you weren't a witch, or that you were a witch. In Salem, you would need proof that I was lying.
Right.
So very different
the
systems.
defendant is suddenly
Not innocent till proven
yes.
guilty. And also in Virginia, evidence is, quote, obtain. Oh, sorry. I did these notes a week ago, so excuse me while I'm trying to like act like I did this recently. In Virginia, evidence, quote, obtained supernaturally was ignored, while in Salem, courts would convict based solely on it. So
wow. Okay.
they were like, if all you have is paranormal proof
Sure.
that no one else can like confirm, then we can't do anything about it.
Okay.
They were kind of like using their brains for a minute.
they were a little bit logical. Yeah.
Fun fact. In Virginia alone, in the 17th century, there were 19 known witchcraft cases.
Okay.
But all but one of them ended in acquittal, and there were no executions for witchcraft in Virginia.
That's good.
So a very different story than
It's kind of
Salem.
incredible how different it is.
No killings.
Really?
I say that, though, with a grain of salt, because even though there were no executions, there was... You'll find out. There was attempts.
It wasn't all good. Okay.
So, but at the end of the day, no one died from being accused of witchcraft. I don't know how good of a statement that is.
I mean, it's better than what you can
It's
say
better than
for
there
Salem.
being death.
Yeah.
So Grace Sherwood, she was born in the 1660s to John and Susan White in Virginia, probably in Pongo, because at the time people didn't really usually leave their county. In 1680, Grace married a farmer/planter named James and would help him on the land. They grew their own herbs, and she specifically was really into gardening to heal animals and people.
Okay. Oh, so like what people do now in LA.
Yes, exactly.
It's a resurgence.
Artisanal peanut butter for Gio's treats. So
That's
she
all
was
you.
just ahead of her time.
Gio eats trash off the sidewalk, so.
I mean, we'll make him like only the finest organically sourced
Truly.
foods, and then he eats rocks.
I literally pay for, I like how you say we will do it, but I mean, truly, you feed him French fries. But yeah, I will literally pay for a stupid food because I'm like, I want him to be healthy. And then he'll eat a Snickers bar, a full Snickers bar off the ground. I will panic and he won't even have a stomach ache. And I'm like, you are.
He has like an iron stomach.
It is
It's
an
very
eye.
creepy.
It's very, maybe he's a witch.
You know what? Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
You're onto something. Maybe he's a familiar.
Oh.
So, So Grace, so Grace was helping her husband James on the land. She was known to grow her own herbs to heal people and animals. They had 3 sons named John, James, and Richard, and she was said to also be a midwife.
Okay.
This is how she's described to people. Attractive, me. Tall, me. Had a sense of humor, me. Wore trousers instead of a dress, me. LOL.
Wow.
Which apparently was unusual for the time, which is also what people say about me.
Fed artisanal peanut butter to their friends' dogs.
1,000%.
Also am.
Yeah. So actually,
That
we're
is
talking
unusual,
about me.
though, like for someone to wear pants back then, a woman to wear pants.
Well, also, it's unusual apparently because people said that she was wearing pants, but also was attractive. And so a lot of people didn't like that they liked her because
Explain yourself.
she wasn't socially acceptably.
So something's wrong with you.
Right. She threatened a lot of people.
Yep.
So actually in Harper's Magazine, they wrote that she was a, quote, secretive maid and her neighbors they told envious stories of her. So her looks and personality were known to have attracted local men and threatened their wives while also threatening the men at the same time because they didn't understand why they were liking a woman in pants. Which was, I got that from only one article, but I thought it was, whether or not that's true, I thought it was an interesting perspective.
What's that like?
Threatening. Especially when you look like you're going to kick me in the face. That's the ultimate threat. So apparently she just was threatening people left and right. Who actually knows why? Allegedly she was threatening everybody in some way, but specifically the wives in town. And so they started rumors so that their husbands wouldn't be attracted to her anymore.
I feel like that's how a lot of those witch stories start, though. Like,
yeah, you just don't
people
like
are
someone and
threatened
say
by
something.
Young, beautiful women, and then they...
Yeah. So it's ideally where all of the accusations came from. They were all from threatened wives.
Sure.
There were at least a dozen lawsuits, either of people accusing her of witchcraft or her suing the accusers. The first allegation was in 1698 when a neighbor named Grace, or a neighbor claimed that Grace bewitched his crops, and he basically he was a shitty farmer and his crops didn't grow.
Seriously.
And he was like, it's Grace's fault.
You can blame anything, and somehow people will find a way to make it work and do witchcraft.
Yes. And basically that allegation created a huge slew of more allegations to come through for the next decade. So accusations kept coming at her. She eventually was charged with witchcraft several times. She was said to have ruined many people's crops. She was known to have bewitched or killed livestock. She was known to conjure up storms. She was accused to have, quote, assumed the form of a black cat, enter a neighbor's home, jump over her bed, whip her, and then left through the keyhole.
Oh my God.
So a shape-shifting, angry, aggressive cat
With a whip.
that can fit into a keyhole.
Jesus. Okay.
So Grace and her husband tried to sue these neighbors for slander, but lost every time, so they ended up having to pay the court costs every single time.
What?
So she would kind of get out. I don't know. It never worked. People kept siding with the slander. One of the rumors about Grace was also that, and this part actually became a town legend that apparently is still something people talk about. I haven't heard it before, but I guess different parts of Virginia Beach have a lot of rosemary everywhere. And one of the reasons is because there's a legend or a rumor that Grace actually brought rosemary over from England and stowed it all in a hollowed out eggshell. And now parts of Virginia Beach, especially Princess Anne County, nowadays has rosemary everywhere because she must have planted it when she was involved with all of her herbs.
Okay.
Even after Grace's husband died later, accusations from neighbors continued, and courts just kept claiming that she was a witch. She couldn't get out of this. It was clearly a rough time for her. And it happened after her husband died, so she wasn't always able to even pay off the court costs anymore.
That's shitty. Then she's more vulnerable.
Right. And because there were so many allegations, the courts were getting annoyed with her because every single week it was just like, we just went through this and now you're a fucking witch again.
I'm not the one doing it.
So according to an article, by the time her husband had passed, quote, Princess Anne County had obviously grown tired of Mrs. Sherwood as a general nuisance. Because they were
gosh.
like, how many more times do I have to do goddamn paperwork because of you?
Oh my gosh.
So in December 1705, Grace got in a fight with a woman in town named Elizabeth Hill over something, and Grace ended up suing her for assault and battery and won.
Oh,
so she finally wins a court
okay.
case. Not necessarily defending herself,
to get
but
beaten up first.
Right. So Elizabeth Hill is now sued for assault and battery, and the next month, Elizabeth Hill's husband, who's still mad about it, accused Grace of bewitching his wife and causing the miscarriage between the couple.
So, right. So he's now saying, oh, well, she only beat you up because you bewitched her into beating you up. Is that what's happening?
Basically, it sounds to me, with the few pieces of information I had been given or found, Grace and Elizabeth got in a fight. Elizabeth beat her up, or was at least charged with assault and battery. So I think in spite or in retaliation, the husband then found a way to accuse her of a witch again, just to give her more trouble in courts, and said like, well, we just had a miscarriage. That must have been her fault.
Oh, it was like a literal miscarriage?
They had a literal miscarriage.
Oh, I thought you meant like the miscarriage of justice of her beating her
like
up.
a
Oh, I see. Okay,
a pregnancy miscarriage.
Understood.
And so they ended up conveniently after a month later of Elizabeth having been charged with assault and battery, the husband then decided to press charges on Grace for causing the miscarriage.
Got it. Okay.
So that was the only time that Grace was actually brought to trial for witchcraft. She had kind of gotten a slip through the cracks beforehand, but now her husband also wasn't there to defend her, so now she's going to trial. So the court decided that she had been accused so many times of witchcraft that they just had to be suspicious at this point. They were like, it's been like 10 years and people keep saying shit.
All these people can't be wrong.
Yeah, either they all hate you or you're a witch.
Oh my God.
And the county justices had two juries during the trial. The two juries were only of women, but some of the women had been people who had previously accused her of witchcraft. So the juries were biased, and they were like, well, we already think she's a witch, so it was not fair.
They didn't allow men into the jury when, like, I feel like later centuries it was like, oh, all men on the jury.
Right, exactly.
And, oh my gosh.
Only women, but also only women who think specifically one thing about you.
For a reason.
So the first panel was ordered to go to Grace's home and look for any items suggesting there was witchcraft in her house.
Again, she's an herbalist, right? So
Right. So they found a
screwed.
whole lot of stuff. Or they could have found a whole lot of stuff. And the second panel was ordered to examine her body
Oh,
for, quote, demon suckling teats.
what?
Because they assumed that she was breastfeeding the
fuck?
devil or something.
I'm telling you.
Both juries, nicely enough, refused to carry out the searches.
That's good.
But the woman did look for markings on her body in general that might have been brands of the devil. So they, like, checked her out, I guess. Just like an up-down.
Yeah.
They did find 2, quote, marks not like theirs or like any other woman, and I don't know anything.
Shocking.
I don't know what else that means.
They found a birthmark.
Exactly.
That they didn't have.
They found some wild freckles.
Right.
So they did find that, but they never looked for any witchcraft items. They never looked at her boobs, I guess, her demon suckling teats,
Oh,
which
God
is what everyone
forbid.
should start calling them, by the way.
I mean,
Just body positivity.
Third Love, are you listening?
Third love for your demon suckling teats.
No
Promo
matter
code drink.
how many you have.
If you have 8, that's great.
I'm
8 is great.
not gonna check though.
So the county justices again believed there was a great cause of suspicion and decided that she must prove her innocence. So on July 5th, 1706, this was probably 6 months after her trial began, the justices ordered a trial by ducking to take place.
What's that?
So
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what this is.
So if you don't know what ducking is, it was a way for back then women to prove their innocence of witchcraft. It's believed that because water is considered pure, it would reject witches. So if they were to throw you into the water, you would float to the top if you were a witch.
It
So-
makes no sense.
It is ass backwards because they're pretty much deciding no matter what, you're dead. Because if they throw you overboard and you float, well, now you're a witch and they have to burn you at the
They're
stake.
gonna kill you.
But if you sink, you're not a witch. You're now just a dead human
Now just
because
dead on the
you're
bottom
drowning.
of the lake.
So-
and oh, how sad.
So
But, like,
ducking is not any way of proving your innocence. You just it's just a way to kill you.
It's truly
without
beyond.
saying that's
I
what they're
remember
gonna do.
learning that when I was little and just being like, I don't understand. This is the moment I just realized humanity will never make sense.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
oh my goodness.
So ducking is being tied crossbound. So basically, they take your 2 thumbs, they cross your arms, and they cross your feet, and then they
Oh.
tie your thumbs to your big toes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
So that way, you're kind of like in a weird cannonball
like
situation,
hog-tied, but not quite.
like front ways hog tied.
Sure.
And then they just drop you in the water. So that's what they did to her. Again, if she sank, she would drown but be innocent. Hooray.
They'd all be so sad.
But the promise of at least being buried on consecrated ground if you were innocent.
Oh, well, worth it.
But if she floated, she was a witch.
Do you think you could, like, I wonder how you could float. I wonder if anyone, some of them must have floated, right? I mean,
So,
oh.
well, ironically, the ducking was postponed until 5 days later because they feared that the weather might harm her health, which was
Oh, well, you wouldn't want that.
the real irony of that. It's like, oh, we wouldn't want to harm your potential definite drowning
We wouldn't want you to catch a cold before we drowned you.
before you can't breathe underwater.
Dear God.
5 women on the shoreline examined her body for devices to make sure she wasn't escaping or she had like a trick up her sleeve to get out of it. They covered her with a sack, they tied her thumbs to her toes, and 6 of the justices rowed in one boat 200 yards out to the river. And in another boat, there was a sheriff, the magistrate, and Grace herself.
It's really bad.
The sheriff tied a 13-pound Bible around her neck
Oh, my God.
and pushed her overboard into the Lynnhaven River near Witch Duck Point, which is named Witch Duck Point because of this story.
It sounds so cute until you know what it means.
It's like, oh, little witchy duck. Nope.
Little duck with a hat on.
Nope. Grace was almost murdered here.
Oh, so she didn't die?
Somehow she untied herself and survived, and she was pulled out of the water. And interestingly enough, as soon as she got out of the water, people said that there was this massive downpour that started and drenched everyone. And they thought that she must have done it because she was already accused of conjuring storms.
Oh my God.
And so they think like, oh, she survived and now she's having her last laugh because now she's making everyone get wet.
I just don't like on the East Coast blaming someone for the weather is like the most absurd. Like maybe if in LA,
If it just blizzarded all of a sudden
Yeah.
here, I'd be like, that's a witch
like
for sure.
Christina's definitely doing some
Christina's
dark
meditating too hard.
dark magic with that artisanal peanut butter. But if in fucking Virginia it rains, I mean, God.
So there's a quote that says, evidence proved that Grace was a witch. Just evidence in general of like, okay, well, she survived the drowning. So evidence proves that she's a witch if we're going off of that theory. And witches were to be burned. But to burn women was a thing unknown in Virginia. So this was the only, I don't know if this was the only time, but this was one of the few times where there was someone survived a ducking. Also, since there were no executions in Virginia, I don't know if that means nobody else was ever drowned or no one else was ever ducked. She might have been the only one.
I guess they don't consider that execution though, right?
I guess
If it's
not.
just a trial.
I
I don't know.
Maybe I wrote about it later. We'll find out.
Who's to say? I love half the time you're like, I don't know because I wrote this last night, and then half the time you're like, I don't know because I wrote it a week ago.
Yeah, there's no way in which I know the information. It's
Trust
just
me, I'm the same way. I just think it's funny.
time you would think would be the factor, but it's really my neglect of my own information.
Our brains will make any excuse we can.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I'm too awake.
Oh yeah,
Which that one I've never used, by the way.
it sounds like this ducking thing all over again. You can't win either way.
So evidence proves that Grace was a witch, so witches should be burned. But Virginia had literally never burned a woman before, and they were like, "We're not a fucking about to." So, which is bravo to Virginia.
I know, wow.
Hats off.
Congratulations.
So Grace was then ordered to be brought to a future trial. However, there is no record of another trial, so there's a chance that the charges were just dropped because they didn't know what to do with her.
They're like, we tried to drown her. It
They're
didn't
like,
work.
we did all that we know how to
We
do.
can't set her on fire now.
I like how they're like, we can't burn a woman, but we can drown
We
her.
can put her in the lake and see what happens.
We'll just, if she survives, that's her call.
Put a sack over her head.
Exactly. So exactly.
It's fucked up.
Sack? No? Okay.
Oh, I didn't know what was happening. I thought you lost
You thought I just like,
your sense of English for a moment.
you would know all about
Welcome
that.
to my world.
So, a lot of people say that she ended up just going to jail for several years, but there is like, there's no real proof of that. There's no records that she was in jail.
Okay.
They say that if she was in jail, then she was in jail until the national like witchcraft hysteria kind of died down. So, which would have been like a decade or so.
Oh, jeez.
If she did go to jail, she got out sometime before 1714 because there are records as of 1714 that she paid back taxes on her property. So if she went to jail, it was only for so long. Fun fact. Oh, this is the part where I think the part's coming up about Fredericksburg. A fun Fredericksburg fact.
Can't wait.
So her property that she inherited from her husband was temporarily given to the county before 1714, which is another reason people think that she might have gone to jail because there was no records of anything going on her land at the time. So while the county took the property for that certain amount of time, she was able to recover her property by 1714 with the help of Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Alexander Spotswood, who is the namesake to the county that I'm from. Spotsylvania County. So I love that you know that about me.
Of course I know that.
So
It's one of my favorite words of this second language of mine.
It's one of my favorite words too. I grew up in Fredericksburg, which was the town I grew up in, but I grew up in Spotsylvania County, which is just like the most like
It's just the best.
redneck thing I've ever heard.
I love it.
Also, I remember, so the only two things, I've said this probably before because I say to every person who's willing to listen, but the only two things, like famous things to come out of Fredericksburg are Danny McBride. Mm-hmm. He also grew up one street over from Princess Anne, by the way.
Oh.
And he went to the same high school that Deirdre went to. And the other thing that came out of Fredericksburg is Chick-fil-A sauce, the special sauce. Those are the only two things to ever come out of Fredericksburg,
And
Virginia.
the other one is M. Show.
And me. We're the trifecta.
Verified on Twitter.
One day, I'll manifest this now. Me and Danny McBride eating Chick-fil-A sauce together. That would be like, that should be like in town hall at Fredericksburg.
Oh, yeah.
So
Town hall.
Danny McBride, are you listening? Actually, Danny McBride's little sister went to CNU also, and she went to school on the same floor, or her dorm was on the same floor as mine. So he actually did come to CNU a few times to visit her, and he still goes to Fredericksburg a lot, and people see him walking down the street all the time.
Aw.
So anyway, Danny McBride, what's up? But
There's just crickets.
well, I bring him up at all because he was on, I think, Jimmy Kimmel. And
Oh, yeah. I remember this.
and I guess during one of his interviews on Jimmy Kimmel, they did a bit where they like showed him his old high school teachers, and he had to figure out, he tried to remember their names. And Jimmy Kimmel was like, "You grew up in Spotsylvania County? What the hell kind of word is that?" And I was like, "Yep, that's right." So anyway,
And wasn't it like Deirdre's teachers too?
it was Deirdre, yeah, because they all went to the same high school.
That's
So Deirdre can confirm those were not actors; they were real teachers.
That's pretty funny.
So, so anyway, her property she was able to recover it from the county because Governor Alexander Spotswood of Spotsylvania County one day helps her recover her property.
I like how they didn't name it Spotswood County. They literally just made up Spotsylvania.
Well, apparently Spotswood, I wish I wrote it down, but I was like, no one will want to know this.
I mean, here I am.
Apparently Spotsylvania is Latin for Spotsylvania, Spotswood, or it's literally Latin for Spotswood.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Silva means forest, so that makes sense.
So there you go. So Spotswood, he just made his last name Latin and it became Spotsylvania.
So you want to make it fancier.
So I wonder what Schultz in Latin would be, and that's the name of the town I'll create one day.
Schultz is nice and German. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen.
So in 1740, Grace died at 80 years old.
Oh, wow.
But she lived out the rest of her life on that farm as a midwife. Rumor has it that her sons, quote, put her body near the fireplace and a wind came down the chimney and her body disappeared amid the embers with the only clue being a cloven hoof print.
Oh my gosh.
So up until she died, people still thought that she was potentially a witch and that the
somehow
devil took her body.
She was still like midwifing.
Right. If you think she's a witch, but you also want her to be the first person that helps you with your baby. I mean,
she has all those teats.
She has a lot of demon-suckling teats in case you're birthing a demon.
It's entirely possible.
Or maybe there was just like somehow even more progressive people in Virginia who like were down with the witch thing. They're like, "Ooh, I want a midwife who's a witch."
I just feel in 300 years this will be really on brand.
It'd be really on brand. And then That's Why We Drink will totally cover it.
This internet show.
So, also stories about the devil taking her after she died, unnatural storms, loitering black cats came soon after. So all these random disasters began happening after she died, which only further perpetuated this rumor that she was a witch. Because there were a lot of storms that showed up and loitering black cats everywhere.
That is not a disaster. That is a lovely, lovely time.
It's going to hurt your feelings in a second.
Uh-oh.
You're not going to like this.
Okay. Eva, plug your ears.
So because there were so many rumors that she was associated with the devil, because there were so many storms around and so many loitering black cats, it became a trend in the town for locals to kill every cat they could find. I'm sorry.
How do humans come up with this shit?
You would think they were so progressive about not killing or not burning a woman, but they're going to kill every cat.
I mean, it's just like they find a way to put their stupid human toxicity into the world.
So every black cat that the townspeople found for that year, they killed. And this ended up leading to Princess Anne County's 1743 rat infestation because all the cats were gone.
Shocker. So
you did it to yourselves, guys. Since then, her house ended up standing for over 200 years. It was just bulldozed in 2002.
What?
She is thought to be buried somewhere under the trees near the intersection of Pongo Ferry Road and Princess Anne Road.
Wow.
Or so I didn't understand it very well. Either it's thought that she's buried on those roads, or she's buried on another property, or that road might be on the property. I'm not sure if it's the same thing said two different ways or two different places. But what I could understand was she's either buried under some trees at the intersection of Pongo Ferry Road and Princess Anne Road, and or she's buried on the property of the Ferry Plantation, which is Virginia's most haunted building. And in case you are either you haven't listened to back episodes or you're new here and this is your first episode, my best friend Deirdre, who went to the same school that Danny McBride went to, she was on our show episode 19, and that was the story that she covered.
Oh!
So she talked about the Ferry Plantation.
Because she went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she talked about the Ferry Plantation, and that is a rumored area where the Witch of Pungo is now buried.
Such a fun episode.
So go listen to that. Hi, Deirdre.
19. Aw, we were such babies.
And many people who live in the neighborhood still report that you can see a woman with long, wet hair walking the banks of the river.
Wet hair. Oh, gross.
So like the ring.
Out of the lake. It sounds
So it's
like
actually
the ring.
Samara. The Witch of Pungo is
Pulled her
Samara
out
from
of the
ring.
well. It's all very mixed up. I'm doing like a 3rd grade production.
All right. Camera difficulty. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to repeat it real quick. So her story is also the namesake to locations in the area, including Witch Duck Road, Witch Duck Point, which is where she was pushed overboard, Sherwood Lane, and just to name a few. And Grace was also, this was the stat that I was trying to remember earlier. So to answer our earlier question, Grace is the only convicted witch ever tried by water in Virginia. So she's the only one that they ever potentially were going to be ducking.
So they literally named that Witch Duck Road just
because of her.
Wow, okay.
And she is the only deceased person in Virginia history to ever be exonerated.
Oh,
so
wow. Afterward.
Yes. So Belinda Nash, who was the founder at Fairy... Oh my God. Belinda Nash, who is a founder of Fairy Plantation, she's been petitioning for over 20 years to have her exonerated.
Aww.
And exactly 300 years after the incident, like to the exact day of her ducking, Governor Tim Kaine pardoned her. And in 2007, a statue of Grace was put on the lawn at Bayside Hospital, calling Grace one of our first healers.
Oh, wow.
And the statue is near the old Prince Anne County Courthouse where Grace was tried, and it's only 1 mile west of her ducking point at Witch Duck Bay. So you're kind of close to all of her history when you go see her statue.
Wow.
The statue of her is her carrying a basket containing garlic and rosemary for her knowledge of herbal healing. And she, on her statue, is a raccoon for her love of animals.
Oh, that's like a real raccoon. He just sits there.
He just gets paid to be there.
Just feed him.
There's a statue of a raccoon next to her.
So cute.
I don't know how they picked the raccoon. You'd think they pick like a Virginia.
A black cat?
Oh, maybe. Whatever. Anyway.
I like the raccoon. I feel like
kind of random.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the story of the Witch of Pungo.
Yay. So wait, so she was the only person to ever be exonerated?
Only deceased person.
So they've never, exonerated anyone else in Virginia?
Not according to Google.
Good job, Virginia, sort of.
I'm sure someone's going to be able to, that doesn't sound right to me. I feel like that's probably not accurate. But that was a stat that I found. Maybe at the time, maybe
Oh, maybe. I mean, it was... listen, I believe you.
I've never claimed to know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's not make that the thing that we're assuming today.
You got that blue check. We all trust you.
I'm verified on Instagram, and I have a bag of all dressed ruffles right next to me. My life's pretty fucking good.
Our lives are in your hands.
Yes.
All right, so this is a different thing that I'm doing here a little bit.
Oh.
So before we went to Canada, we were trying to find time to record. We didn't. We released a live episode, but I had started this story knowing I was going to Canada, and I figured it was still fitting because it is a Canadian story.
It's always fitting.
As I was just there and brought a moose. So I actually found this email really randomly. I didn't search for Canada or anything in our email, but I found this email. Excuse me.
Heartburn?
Oh, no, I just stopped breathing and I forgot how.
Are you okay?
I'm back.
Oh, by the way, I'm having heartburn, so if you see me making weird faces...
Oh, no.
It's fine.
I hope it wasn't those ruffles.
No. It was I ate an entire fucking pizza by myself today.
We also were stress eating. We have a lot going on.
We've got a lot going on
no
right
comment. So...
Nothing bad you have to worry about. Only good things that we can't discuss.
All good, just a lot. Let's put it that way. But that always means good things because that means we're setting up all sorts of fun stuff. So I found this email randomly from February of this year. It was from a woman named Elise who co-hosts the Rabbit Holes podcast. Mm-hmm. I guess they go down different rabbit holes.
Wow, I don't know what that means at all. Can't relate. Continue.
Moving on. So she literally took the time to whip up some notes on this Canadian serial killer, and I was like, holy crap, I haven't heard of this guy. And she had sent me all these notes, and I was like, okay, this is great timing. I'm going on an anniversary trip. I was just in Cincinnati for a wedding. I'm home for 24 hours. I don't have time to do full research. So thank you, Elise, for sending these notes. What I did was Okay, I'm just going to read it. She says, I've taken the liberty, because I'm old-timey like that, to prepare some show notes for Christine's consideration. As you may have heard, Canada has been dealing with a serial killer for the last decade. I had not heard.
I refuse to believe it because everyone's perfect in Canada.
That is not entirely true.
Except for this person, apparently.
There are some issues, especially after I learned on my ghost tour some questionable things. But every place has them. I think there's darkness in every place. And you guys maybe executed some people, but you stopped earlier than we did. So you already have us beat on that.
I do the ignorance is bliss thing and just pretend everything is like moose.
The number of emails we get
poutine.
that are like, like, you just don't get Canada. Like, we don't
I don't have to.
have that.
I don't have to.
They're like, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but like, we have a lot of murderers.
I've already decided that I'm obsessed and I'm just like, I have my blinders on.
I mean, you can be obsessed, but like, I mean, people, I'm sure Spotsylvania County has some murderers.
Yeah,
Doesn't
well,
mean
we're
it's
no
a bad
Canada.
place.
We're no Canada.
Okay, fine. So anyway, she says, you may have heard Canada has been dealing with a serial killer for the last decade, and the arrest/court case is set to wrap up tomorrow. So she literally said this like the day. So I was already
This is like super topical.
It was, and I was super invested in this. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm literally going to Canada in like 3 days. So I got very excited about this. And she had sent me these notes, but they were like from February. So then I went and basically took her notes and then just kind of like went
down a rabbit hole
into this and like found some other stuff. And
it's very punny.
It is.
Very bunny of the rabbit hole,
dear God.
if you will.
Oh, help me. Send me back to Canada. Okay. So anyway, this is the story of Bruce McArthur, the serial killer of Toronto's gay village.
Oh no.
Yes, it's very bad. So just saying.
Yikes.
But so thank you, Elise, for your notes. I took your notes and I ran with them and fell down a rabbit hole. Okay.
As you do.
So just to give you a little background, in 2010, gay men started disappearing from the Church and Wellesley area of Toronto, and Church and Wellesley are known as Toronto's gay village. Police were not at first convinced there was anything odd going on. Shocker. There was no evidence of any crimes being committed, so there wasn't much they could do, and it took about 10 years for things to finally happen, and this year they wrapped up. So I'm just going to give you kind of the story of that.
Okay.
All right, so Thomas Donald Bruce McArthur, or as we call him, Bruce McArthur,
Sure.
was born October 8th, 1951 in Lindsay, Ontario, outside of Toronto, but he grew up in farm country north of Oshawa. He had a sister. His parents took in troubled foster kids from Toronto. He had a reputation at school for being a teacher's pet. He didn't really fit in with other kids. He was known for ratting out the other kids. He was also known for his singing voice. He often won singing competitions. And he was kind of like bullied for being different and being kind of a tattletale.
Okay. Got it.
So his parents were Irish Catholic and Scottish Presbyterian, respectively, which created some tension in the home. Presbyterian and Catholic.
Listen.
You know how that is, you Jew.
I between my dad being a Catholic, my stepdad being Presbyterian, my mom being a Jew, and my stepmom being Wiccan.
Wiccan is really the kicker
That's
here.
the topsy-turvy one.
That's the one that really...
And now I've got another Catholic stepdad, so listen.
TM for my sitcom.
Right. At this point, it's just like a house of random religions.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then
yes, I can relate.
Here's M just like saying the Our Father to avoid...
And here I am identifying as Jewish, but also like saying the Lord's Prayer the second I'm scared of anything.
Okay. And here I am just watching.
Blindly, just with popcorn.
Don't tell my godmother. Okay. So, right. So there was some tension in the home. McArthur would often side with his mother, and his father did not like that. And also later McArthur said that his father was super strict, and he felt that he may have sensed his lack of masculinity or his homosexuality, and that was why there was this kind of hatred going on from his father. McArthur had trouble accepting his sexual orientation, which would have been seen as abnormal in rural Ontario at the time.
Got it.
And being gay with very religious parents was obviously extremely difficult. He married his high school sweetheart, whose name was Janice Campbell, when he was 23. They had 2 children, a daughter and a son. And in the early 90s, McArthur came out to his wife, but he and his wife decided to continue living together, kind of just under the same roof, until 1997, when he finally decided to leave her and move to Toronto and begin living openly as gay.
Got it.
And this is when he started having a 4-year relationship with another man. And he also started work as a traveling salesman, a retail worker, and a landscaper.
Okay.
And this is where things
Get
go
haywire.
downhill. Get it? He's a landscaper? Okay. Nah, that one's not good. At least
got it.
I'm not going to blame you for that. That was all me. I should have blamed her. That would have been better. Nope. Okay. Any future puns that are not funny are Elise's fault. Okay.
Right, and no one else's, not even mine.
Not even M's.
Finally.
Finally, they're not M's fault.
I've been waiting. Elise, thank you. 140-something episodes down the road, you finally got here.
You got escape bunny.
Hey.
It's so bad. I'm sorry. I'm not. Listen, I may have put some gin in my drink.
I may have watched Christine take like a very large shot of vodka earlier or something.
I'm telling you, we had a really long day.
We had a really long day.
And I don't really drink anymore, so sometimes it's just like, oh.
I was mid-sentence and Christine was just like grabbing for a shot glass.
I
was
grabbed
like,
a Tito's.
She was like, don't, just let me, hang on, just finish the sentence in a second.
Thought.
It's been a wild time.
I've also been watching a lot of Arrested Development. Like, Blaze and I watched it the whole time we were in Canada. Like, every night we'd watch a couple episodes. And just the amount that Lucille Bluth drinks is so funny. And her, like, martinis every day. And I was like, I'm just craving some martini, man.
Fun fact, the picture for my mom's contact ID in my phone
You
is
told
the
this story in the last episode.
I don't care. I don't care.
I'm just saying because your mom called, remember? And you were like, oh, Lucille Bluth.
Oh, yeah. The picture of Lucille Bluth drinking a martini and like one of her eyes is like half cocked.
The wink.
Yeah. Not implying that my mom is such a lush, but my mom and her definitely pull a lot of the same one-liners.
Em likes to make some comparisons there.
Yeah.
And I like to make comparisons.
My mom says a lot of the same things Lucille Bluth says. And sometimes I forget who said what. So
yeah.
It's whatever.
It's all fitting when Lucille Bluth calls. So anyway, that's why I've been kind of feeling the vodka lately. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is not about me anymore. Okay. So let's see. So the first crime is called the Halloween assault. And I'm sorry. I didn't even think that it was also October, but I guess it's fitting in that way too.
Sure.
So let's see. McArthur met a sex worker on a chat line around Halloween, and they had sex. On the afternoon of Halloween, October 31st, 2001, a few weeks after his 50th birthday, McArthur was invited into the man's apartment to see this is the Lucille Bluth
To see his what?
Halloween costume.
Okay, I see what this is.
Sip of martini.
So, right.
I'm telling you.
Cue the half eye being open.
The like horrible. I do that at Blaze all the time, and
Christine, you also do it when you're just drunk.
I know. I do it when I'm sober too. It's just a bad habit.
No, my favorite thing is when Christine does drink a lot. It's impossible for both eyes to be open at the same time.
That is true.
She's like one of those like dolls that you have to lift up and the eyes open,
and
but
one gets stuck.
But it's like been thrown down the stairs too many times, so one of its eyes just never really fully gets there.
That's like shockingly fitting. Yes, correct.
And you're like, no, Christine, the other eye has to be open, and you're like, oh, hang on. And you like switch them out.
You gotta like tap me in the side of the face a few times, so then the other one will open.
It's so fun to watch.
Just like unglue the eyelashes from the bottom. Yeah.
Maybe that's why one's always closed, because like your eyelashes like weave together.
It's possible. Let's say that's the reason.
Okay.
So anyway, the guy was like, "Come see my Halloween costume," and oops, I just deleted the entire bullet. That's good. I got really worked up about that. Okay. So he was invited to the man's apartment to see his Halloween costume, and for whatever reason, McArthur struck the man several times from behind with an iron pipe that he, quote, often carried.
Oh.
So, I guess you could say at that point it's my Halloween costume, this pipe, but
sure,
just struck him on the back of the head.
That's my costume, a guy with a pipe.
Yeah, isn't that clever? He's a plumber.
Sure.
The victim lost consciousness, but ultimately woke up, called 911, and was taken to the hospital, where he required several stitches on the back of his head and fingers, as well as physiotherapy to like resume normal movement.
Shit.
For several weeks. McArthur turned himself into police, saying he didn't remember attacking the man or why he did it. He pleaded guilty to assault and was sentenced to almost 2 years in prison. And it's said that McArthur's unexplained behavior may have been due to the combination of his anti-seizure medication that he was taking with what they call poppers, a muscle relaxant called amyl nitrite, which is sometimes taken recreationally before sex. So they were kind of saying, his defense was saying like, oh, well, this medication might have made him black out and behave erratically. And so the Crown prosecutor agreed with psychiatric reports, which claimed that he was unlikely to reoffend and he was safe to be released back into the general population.
I see.
That was not true. And this is, I will also add, Elise and I believe her co-host are both from Canada. So this is like one of their
hometown thing?
Sort of, yeah. Like they know kind of more about the legal proceedings and all that. So
Got it.
She kind of makes some notes here. And I want to say that's not me. That's kind of her take on things. So also the puns are her.
Right. Entirely her. Every horrible joke.
Oh, there's so many too. Also, all the ones from episode 1 through 141 were also hers.
Yeah, every single thing that we've ever done wrong. Elise, thank you for really taking the blunt on that.
You know what, Elise? I held my tongue for the first
brunt.
141 episodes. I can't hold it in any longer. This is all your fault. Okay. So as she says, in true Canadian fashion, though, he never went to prison. He was put under house arrest, had a curfew, had 3 years of probation, was ordered to stay away from male sex workers, and his victim had a restraining order put against him. So there was that punishment, quote unquote. He was also prohibited from going to the Toronto gay village community for the length of his sentence. Didn't really work because it's hard to prohibit someone from, I guess, going to an entire neighborhood night scene.
I hear you.
In 2002, while the assault case was still before the courts, McArthur registered with Recon, which was I don't know if it's still in existence, but it's a gay fetish site for men into BDSM, where his profile noted his interest in submissive men. He was active on, so this is all during, like, while his case is still going through the courts.
Oh, okay.
And he's still, prohibited from a lot of activities, etc., under house arrest, etc., etc. He was active on numerous gay dating websites, including, now I'm going to read these to you because there's a lot of them.
Okay.
And I don't know how many you've heard of. I've only heard of a few.
Okay.
I don't know if these are Canadian or whatever. He was active on numerous gay dating websites, including Silver Daddies, Monjom, Grindr, ding ding, Bear 411.
No.
I love that one. Bear 411, Bear Forest.
Oh.
Scruff.
Yes, I've heard of Scruff.
Daddy Hunt.
No.
I can't tell if I like Bear 411 or Daddy Hunt more.
They both sound like they could be really interesting video games.
The next one's not. It's called Squirt.
That I've not heard of.
And Growler, which...
Oh, yeah, I know Growler.
Yeah, Growler, Grindr, probably competing apps.
Maybe.
He had also become a regular at the gay bars and clubs throughout Toronto and was well known in the gay community despite being banned from the gay community.
Sure.
Additionally, while his case worked its way through the courts, he purchased a 2004 Dodge Caravan.
Okay.
And that is important to note.
Good to know.
His lawyers appealed based on the stay away from male sex workers part of the sentence, and the conviction was completely expunged from his record in 2014. Like it never happened. Like it was just completely erased despite the conviction and the 2-year sentence, the house arrest sentence, completely erased. His defense team got it completely expunged from his record, so he had a fully clean record after that.
Okay.
In 20
Wow.
Yeah, it's not good. So, in 2012, a post appeared on a website called Zambian Meat.
Okay.
MEAT.
Oh, okay.
It was a cannibal website.
Okay.
And a man posted that he had killed and eaten a man from Toronto's gay village. In response, the Toronto police set up Project Houston, a task force to investigate the claim, thinking the poster may have been referring to the disappearance of a man named Skandaraj or Skanda Navaratnam. And this was a disappearance, a crime they'd never been able to solve. So they were like, oh my gosh, maybe this is related. We're going to look into this.
Got it.
Apparently, they even at this point looked into Luca Magnotta, which whom I covered in
the cat guy, right?
32.
The guy with the animals. He did really horrible things.
Yeah,
to animals.
he did bad things to animals.
Yeah, that was one of the tougher ones.
Probably not a good advertisement for episode 32, but
that was, if you are really into like the more fucked up stories, that's one for you.
It's a cannibal-ish story, so I mean, check it out. It was a good story. It's a fucked up story.
Yeah.
In June 2013, the task force identified 2 other missing men from the gay village that they thought were similar to Skanda's case, and those were the cases of Abdul Bazir Faizi and Majid Hamid Kayhan. So they had the same ethnic background, they were around the same age, it just seemed like it was around the same time, and all 3 unsolved. They also all disappeared between 2010 and 2012, all South Asian immigrants, and 2 of them, Faizi and Kayhan, were both married and hiding their sexuality from their wives. So they were closeted, and they just seemed like a lot of coincidences. So in 2013, police actually did link Bruce McArthur to the two men through his use of dating apps. Like, he had actually matched with both of them. But they interviewed him, and he checked out, so he was dismissed. And remember, he had a fully clean record, so...
Got it.
That was not in the background. Project Houston concluded, with no evidence to link the disappearances, that any crime had been committed. They never identified a suspect, and according to a 2016 case summary, there was still nothing to explain what had happened to these three men. So another Toronto task force, I guess they like their task
Love a good task force.
forces.
Wow.
I know, I think they just like to name them, because this one was called Project Prism.
Ooh.
I know, right?
I like that.
Sounds like a club.
Yeah.
Project Prism.
You could do a lot of like rainbows, like refracting through it.
I was wondering if that's maybe where
Oh,
it
wait a
came
minute.
from. I think probably.
It'd be fun.
I mean,
I'm gonna allow it.
we get to rainbow later, so like it could
Is there
be.
a rainbow task force?
There's not a
Because I
rainbow-
thought that's what the whole queer community was called.
We're getting there. Yeah, there is a rainbow something or other.
Someone make a shirt called the Rainbow Task Force.
Well, let's find out if it's something bad first, and then
Never mind.
Maybe make it once I remember what the hell is in here. Because
I see. Remember that time that I said the something really bad about the
Yeah.
devil?
Yeah, that was fun.
I said something that was meant to be a compliment and came off the exact
Something
wrong
about,
way.
like burning the rainbow flag. Yeah,
Yeah, but it was meant.
It was meant as a-
somehow. It was meant in a good way.
really positive comment.
It was how hell is at least inclusive. It was really awful. It came out bad.
The more you explain it, the less it makes sense.
That's
so.
what happened in the last episode too.
It happens in every episode. The more we explain anything, the less it makes sense.
In case you guys don't know, I am an ally. It just doesn't show itself because I'm terrible at talking. That's why I have a podcast.
That's why we blast our voices into your
Anyway,
ears.
I promise I'm part of the good task force.
Danny McBride, are you listening? Do
Oh,
you
no.
still want to talk to us? Probably
No,
not.
never did, never will.
Another Toronto task force called Project Prism was created in July 2017 following two more missing persons cases and was tasked with looking for connections between these two current cases and the three that had been unsolved by Project Houston. So we still had those three that were unsolved. Now there were two more, and they were like, okay, now we have 5. Let's see if we can connect all 5 of these. The first man to disappear around this time was named Salim Essen, who vanished on April 14th, 2017. He arrived in Canada from Turkey only a few years earlier and was active on social media, dating apps, and in the community itself. Then in late June 2017, a man named Andrew Kinsman disappeared from another Toronto community called Cabbage Town
Okay.
the day after Pride Toronto. His friends gained access to his apartment and found no sign of a disturbance except that his 17-year-old cat was out of food and water.
Oh
But I
no.
think she was still alive.
She sounds like she's a familiar. She's kicking.
I don't know if she's a she, but the cat was still alive.
The cat was somehow making it at
So-
17.
The one difference is that Kinsman was openly gay. He was a local bartender, longtime volunteer with the Toronto People with AIDS Foundation, superintendent of his building, was extremely involved with the community, very well known, very popular. He was also known as stable and responsible. His friends had noticed really quickly that he was missing, and his friends were like, he would never leave voluntarily, especially without his cat, his familiar, his 17-year-old kitten, and his prescription meds, which were all still at the apartment. He was also 6'4" and 220 pounds,
Oh wow.
so he seemed like an unlikely candidate of random violence.
Sure.
It just didn't add up why he was missing, and it didn't seem like something he would have done on his own. At this point, Toronto's gay community is like, okay, enough is enough. We're going to start pressuring Toronto police to recognize that there's likely a serial killer working in our midst. So the notion that there was a serial killer targeting gay men had been suggested by the community before, but now the media was kind of picking up on it and saying, okay, this is, you know how the media likes to be like, serial killer?
Exactly. Yeah.
Could it be? And so a friend and colleague of Kinsman named Greg Downer founded and moderated the Facebook groups. Well, the first one was called Find Andrew Kinsman, and the second one was called Toronto's Missing Rainbow Community. That's where the rainbow came in.
Got it.
So they shared information. Each group had about 600 members, and in the groups they shared information about the missing men. They organized volunteers for search parties. They released missing persons flyers and photos on social media and like paper flyers.
Just everything everywhere.
Yeah, trying to raise public awareness, saying like, we're going to try to get the police's attention, essentially. Downer even, this is pretty crazy, he appealed to dating apps to provide an option for users to consent to have their data released to police if they went missing. So basically, if you sign up for this dating app, you could check a box saying, if something happens to me, I consent to my information to be released so they don't have to wait months, because otherwise, they'd have to wait months
I love that.
to get the permission.
It's a shitty situation, but that's very smart.
No, it is really smart, because, it's hard. It takes a long time for them to get data and all that shit from whether it be a mobile company.
What's that company called? Or what's the thing that what's
a company called?
Yeah, the thing where you can consent in advance. I don't know if it was called anything. I don't think
it's called anything.
Okay.
He just basically asked several gay dating apps to be like, can you make it an option that people release their information in case they go missing? The investigation was criticized. Oh, sorry. They also opened hotlines for people who were reluctant to talk to police but maybe had some information. So the investigation itself was criticized for victim blaming on part of the authorities. On February 27, 2018, for example, a news article ran with the headline, Toronto Police Chief says civilians failed to help investigation into alleged serial killer, which is like, that's not the people's fault. Like, it's your job. It's not their job to find the serial killer, but it seemed like they were doing a lot, and there was a lot of miscommunication on that front too, where the police chief said like, no, I'm very thankful for the community's involvement, and then the mayor got involved, and it was a whole thing. And there's that.
Got it.
So, controversy. Because Kinsman there it is.
Okay.
Because Kinsman's disappearance was reported so quickly, so within 72 hours, his disappearance was reported by his friends, and thus the task force was created so quickly, police were able to gather some really crucial evidence that they probably wouldn't have gathered if his disappearance had been delayed and he had been reported much later than that. I see. One of the pieces of evidence that they found was a calendar entry on June 26th in Andrew's calendar. It was the last day Andrew Kinsman was seen alive, and the calendar entry just read Bruce. So they were like, who is Bruce? This is the last day he was seen alive. That's the calendar entry. It just says Bruce.
Interesting.
So they found surveillance footage from outside Kingsman's apartment showing him that day approaching a red minivan. And while you couldn't see the license plate, you couldn't see the driver in the front seat, the side chrome on the car was identified by someone as a 2004 Dodge Caravan.
That I see, yes.
So then they're like, we got a 2004 Dodge Caravan. We got the name Bruce. Let's cross-reference those.
Right.
See who the hell is named Bruce in Toronto who owns a Dodge Caravan. So there were 6,000 Dodge Caravans in Toronto, but only 5 were owned by men named Bruce. And just like that, they made the connection to Bruce McArthur.
Got it.
So now they were like pinpointing all their energy on Bruce McArthur. It made a lot of sense that this was their guy. Police were getting search warrants on circumstantial evidence or what they identified as the disappearance for... God, I can't read. I'm sorry. We got this ring light in our eyes, and I keep looking at it and then looking down, and I'm blind.
But we figured out the lighting. We just haven't figured out our eyes.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to cope with the lighting.
But we're very happy that now we will have consistent lighting.
And go blind in the process.
Yes.
I'm going to zoom in like you did. That's smart. Okay. So, all their energy was now going into McArthur because it made sense he was their guy. Police were getting search warrants for what they identified as the disappearances of 5 men, including Andrew Kingsman. So now they were like, all 5 of these men we think are connected to Bruce McArthur. As part of their investigation, police tracked McArthur's patterns and whereabouts. He didn't know they were surveilling him. And they realized he had been doing landscape work for a homeowner in a nice area of Toronto in exchange for storage space in their garage.
I see.
For his landscaping gear. Quote unquote. In October, McArthur took his van into a car parts shop and sold it. But luckily for police, when they got there, it had yet to be processed and was still sitting exactly as it was when he had sold it.
Oh, cool.
So they were able to look at it just as it was, pristine. In the van, police found trace amounts of blood. It matched Andrew Kinsman's blood.
Got it.
And the other guy, Essen, which allowed them to get into McArthur. So they got the search warrant for McArthur's apartment, and they went in while he was not home and secretly cloned his computer hard drive.
Wow.
Isn't that wild to think, like, what if you had a Ring doorbell and you were just like, oh, someone, my FedEx, my HelloFresh is here. And then you open it, it's like all these police officers just like coming in and then like.
Well, also I wonder what having a Ring or like one of those camera systems has now done for people when it comes to not being home. Like now you really can't, if someone has that, you can't do a secret warrant. Like they know that you're on to them and they now have more time to run, right?
You'd think so, yeah.
I imagine it's going to go that way at least once in the world.
I don't know how often I've heard of like police going secretly into someone's house and then leaving and then not. Like,
I don't know.
I've never really heard that before. Maybe that's a Canadian thing.
Maybe. I
Like,
don't know.
I've never heard of people going into the house without telling the person, then leaving and then letting them live their life like they never knew. I don't know. I guess I've just never really.
I've never just thought about it. For all I know, it happens a lot more or a lot less than I'm
It's never
imagining.
really come up in any of my stories, you know?
No, I'm trying to think of all the Law and Order episodes,
I've never really seen where they're just like I've seen where they go in.
but never like without the person there.
Yeah, or like they're looking for them. They're not like, okay, let's wait till he's gone. Then
Right.
pretend we were never here.
I wonder if there's at least one case.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I mean, there is one right here, I guess. So, I mean, and it was recent, so it's not like he couldn't have had a Ring doorbell. Okay, Anyway, in Elise's words, quote, now shit was on. Police had McArthur under surveillance, and on January 18th, 2018, they witnessed McArthur and a young man entering McArthur's apartment. Concerned for that man's safety, they entered the apartment. They found the young man restrained to the bed in the apartment. He was shaken but not hurt. He also fit the profile of the other missing men. So he was Middle Eastern, he was young, he was married and in the closet, and he was active on gay dating apps. He told police he had met McArthur through the dating app Growler and said they'd met for sex several times. He had agreed to keep his relationship with McArthur secret and let himself be handcuffed to McArthur's steel bed frame. But he did not agree to the part where McArthur put a black bag over his head and tried to tape his mouth shut. And this was happening as police officers came in.
What are the odds that you've already met this guy so many times and the one time he tries to do it is the time that you're saved?
Thank the Lord.
I know, that's perfect
Jesus
timing.
Christ. So they're watching him and they're like, this guy could be in serious trouble. They walk in and he's like taping his mouth shut with a bag over his head. So thank God.
He's so lucky that he was thinking, I'm in trouble, and then police just walk in.
Yeah, he literally got, thank God, saved from that hell. So they arrest McArthur, obviously. This guy's like, I did not ask for that. After his arrest, January 18th, 2018, police executed search warrants on 5 properties where McArthur had been known to do landscaping work. At one of the properties, cadaver dogs signaled on 12 large planter boxes. The planters were frozen to the ground, but were released and were transported, like, in their entirety to the Toronto coroner's office. So they literally just like removed these giant planters from the ground and transported them to the coroner's
They're like, we
office.
already know. Let's just take it.
But they're like not even going to look into them there. They're like, it's too cold. Take them inside. So they looked inside them. Inside 2 of them were the skeletal dismembered remains of at least 3 people. And this allowed the police to charge Bruce McArthur with 3 murders. Majid Kaihan, a Project Houston subject, Sarush Mahmoudi, who disappeared in 2015, and Dean Lizowick, a homeless man who had never actually been reported missing at all. In the coming weeks and months, the remains of 7 more men would be found in those planters, including Andrew Kinsman. The problem was that McArthur worked all over Toronto for decades. The manpower required to find the other victims was massive. It took hundreds of officers, and they searched over 30 different properties looking for bodies. But they were able to remove planters from several properties where McArthur had worked as a landscaper. And because cadaver dogs were having trouble detecting scents due to the cold weather and frozen ground, instead of this time taking the planters and physically removing them, they would put these like large tents up with heaters and like thaw the frozen ground in the yard. Like they would like put up tents around all the planters and then just like heat the ground until they were able to dig it up.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah. So forensic investigators spent hundreds of hours searching every inch of McArthur's apartment where they suspected some of the murders had taken place. It took them several weeks before they even got to his bedroom. That's how
Wow.
thoroughly
Like they're really with a fine tooth comb.
exactly. And in his bedroom is where they expected a bulk of their evidence would come from. So the search concluded on May 11th, having occupied 10 forensic officers for nearly 4 months. That's how long just the apartment took. 4 months.
Bravo to the police department for really
They were
doing it.
in it and on it and around it. They took more than 18,000 photographs within the apartment and collected over 1,800 items.
Wow.
Detective Sergeant Hank Idsinga explained that the intense thoroughness was required as the first murder was believed to have occurred in the apartment 8 years previously. So they're like, this could have occurred 8 years ago. We're going to look so carefully.
Right, so evidence could be anywhere.
Exactly. And could be so small that you wouldn't even notice it otherwise. The case was actually spread around the world with tips coming in from different countries that McArthur had visited in his travels or worked in. So he was all over the world. A police source actually told the National Post that McArthur had covered his tracks using aliases online, using payphones instead of cell phones. And this is 2015, this is recent.
Wow.
It's he was using...
Somehow still possible to just
Wow.
scathe by.
I found a payphone in Halifax. I was like, wow, a working payphone.
One time when I still worked at the prop house, there was a gas station nearby that had a payphone, and I called my mom on it just
No way.
to say that I could. And then she didn't answer. I had to leave a voicemail.
We're such youths.
I was like, Mom, I'm calling you on a payphone. Anyway, I'll talk to you later.
Oh, it says I'm out of...
It says I'm out of dimes.
I'm
I'm out of
nickel. Yeah, I feel like we're such wannabe youths. The youths nowadays are we played Oregon Trail on floppy disks. The youths now are literally, what's a payphone?
Exactly, yeah. How do you
Anyway.
use this?
This doesn't make any... What's a nickel?
Right.
I have a Bitcoin. Okay, sorry.
You're nailing it.
I'm truly 1,000. Okay.
We'll check you back into the retirement home after this.
Please, God, just take me back. Okay. So he used aliases, he used payphones. He actually knew where the surveillance cameras were in Toronto, so he would avoid those. He was even able, at that guy's apartment, he was able to hide himself and his license plate. They just happened to see what kind of car it was and the Bruce. So the same source suggested that McArthur had targeted vulnerable men who A, did not have a fixed address, or B, which seemed to be a common thread, is that they hadn't told their families they were gay, so their families wouldn't even know.
And they would never have an alibi, or they would never...
Yeah, their families, they would have kept this relationship secret.
So he had no risk of people finding out that he was involved in all of these storylines.
Exactly. And so that just seemed to be a common thread between his victims. So all in all, McArthur was charged with first-degree murder of 8 different men and was brought to trial in January of 2018. The court actually ordered a publication ban on the proceedings, which limited what could be reported in the press. So basically, the general public only knew that he was in custody and was charged with 8 murders, but then they were kind of cut off from future information until the trial was over. On January 28th, 2019, so this year, McArthur pled guilty to 8 murders, which he had committed between 2010 and 2017. He claimed only 5 were sexual in nature, but all of them were committed via some form of strangulation.
Oh my God.
He kept trophies from his victims, including jewelry and a notebook. DNA from 4 of the victims had been found in McArthur's van. He also had, quote, post-offense rituals, including taking hundreds of post-mortem digital photographs of his victims,
God.
which were recovered forensically after he tried to delete them off his hard drive. So that was part of what they found. He took staged post-mortem photographs, typically with ropes around their necks or with them nude in a fur coat or a hat.
Okay.
Some photographs had them with their heads and beards shaved off, like he had shaved them.
Ew.
And then he kept their hair in Ziploc bags in a shed at Mount Pleasant Cemetery.
Wow. That's a lot.
One photograph actually showed a rope around a victim's neck that showed kind of how he did this, how he killed them. He had a rope twisted with a metal bar wrapped in tape. So he was it was like a mechanism to control the strangulation with the bar.
Gross. Got it.
Yeah. The bar also.
That gave me chills.
I know. It gave
awful.
me chills too. Oh God, even saying it. The bar was found in McArthur's van and contained both the DNA of Kinsman and Essen on the bar itself. So he didn't even hide that
He was just hanging out.
But somehow he was able to avoid. He even was interviewed in that earlier case and was let go. I mean, it's just horrifying. So Elise's email that I mentioned came in the week of the sentencing, and she actually said, like, tomorrow we find out what happens, which was really crazy. I, like, had never even seen it until now. And then I actually searched, and she had sent an update, like, a week later.
Oh, thanks, Elise.
Thanks for the update.
Really on top of it.
You really are. So,
except for your puns. They suck.
Yeah, your puns are terrible. You really got to work on that.
Listen, everyone, I use your puns all the time, and no one ever laughs.
Yeah,
so
what's the problem here?
it's not my fault.
It's just crickets left and right.
You mean rabbits?
I knew you were going to say that, and I was going to start my sentence, but then I had to burp, so I didn't.
You're like, I might as well just let this happen.
Might as well let you take this one. So like I said, I believe Elise and her co-host are both from Canada, so they have their own take on things. So the updated email included a tweet. Oh, her co-host, I believe, is named Andy. So the tweet is from Tracy Tong, who I believe is a reporter from the area. It says, breaking news, judge sentences McArthur to life with concurrent periods of parole ineligibility. McArthur will serve 25 years before being eligible for parole.
Okay.
25 years.
I mean, I'm going to shrug that off.
It's not
because there's
good.
nothing else I can do.
So what she says is not great news, but par for the course in Canada's justice system. Even if he's 90 before he's eligible for parole, this is going to make a lot of people justifiably unhappy. So the mandatory sentence, he basically received, like, from what I can tell, the minimum mandatory sentence for first-degree murder, which is life imprisonment with no parole for 25 years. So, like, as long as he lives, he's going to be paroled, which is horrifying. I mean, this man admitted to murdering 8 people via strangulation. And he could be paroled.
Super.
The Crown prosecutor asked that the parole eligibility be pushed back to 50 years, which would mean he would die before that, but no go. No go. He got the minimum sentence.
Gotcha.
So, obviously, we all know, this is Elise's line, but it's true. We all know serial killers can often have higher body counts that they're held legally than those that they're held legally accounted for. Police are actually still looking to see, I mean, this happened like a few months ago, so this is like still very active. Police are looking to see if a series of cases, some of which date back to the 70s, may actually be McArthur's crimes. They've also searched almost 100 properties associated with McArthur across Toronto. And because he didn't select victims from just one demographic type, it makes linking missing persons cases difficult, especially because, I mean, if you think about it, if a lot of them weren't out, like, it's hard to say who was considered like a missing member of the gay community if they like weren't publicly out.
Right.
And so it just seems like, especially if people are immigrating from different countries, it's just very hard to track who his victims might have been.
Got it.
And I mean, even that one guy who was homeless and had never been registered as missing, like,
yeah, that Dean guy.
They just happened to find him. So former homicide detective Mark Mendelson said the investigation would become, quote, the largest Toronto has undertaken.
Wow.
Criminologist and Western University professor Michael Arntfield said that the alleged method of disposal suggested a sophisticated killer who had developed his craft, and as most serial killers begin in their 20s, the crimes could go back several decades and represent the longest run of a serial killer on record.
Wow.
So odds are 8 isn't the actual victim count. Toronto crime journalist James Dubrow said the allegations suggest McArthur was the deadliest known serial killer in Toronto and the most prolific gay serial killer in Canada's history. And that is the story of Bruce McArthur.
I guess there's one bad apple in Canada.
Only one, yeah, I'm sure.
But after that, y'all are peaches.
Also, Elise sent a horoscope.
Oh.
I know.
Wow, Elise.
I know, she's on it. She's going to take my job. You want it? So this is from the Globe and Mail, which he says is a very Canadian publication, from the day of his allocution, which is like his statement prior to being sentenced. So he's a Libra. It's also Libra season.
I know. Wow, this is really on brand all of a
It
sudden.
really is, and I found it from like February. I don't know what happened. Okay. It's God in this building.
I can feel God here, for sure.
God left a long time ago.
Yeah, the devil is only with us.
On our teats. Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Okay. So this is the horoscope. Self-belief is the one thing you have never been short of, Libra. And that's good, because with so much cosmic activity taking place in your opposite sign, you are sure to be challenged in some way today. don't try to avoid the challenge. Go ahead and meet it head on.
Ooh.
Yep. And so that was actually from the day of his sentencing, or of his statement before his sentencing.
Wow.
So that's kind of wild that she was able to find that. So thank you to Elise and Rabbit Holes podcast. The sources were Wikipedia, Vanity Fair, and the Globe and Mail. And that's that.
Yay!
So dark. I need to eat more.
I was going to say, don't even fucking mention trying to eat some of my all-dressed ruffles.
Do you know how hard it was to spend all week with that thing in my bag and not touch it?
I'm surprised you didn't take like a shot of the maple syrup.
I might have.
I bet you did.
Don't worry.
It looks like there's some lipstick on there. Thank you guys for listening. Do we have any updates? I don't think we do.
I think we're good. Like, we're Jay chillin'.
Jay chillin'. At least on the forefront.
Yes.
On the back end, we're doing big things.
We're doing shots of vodka.
We're doing shots of maple syrup. I'm not sharing my food per usual.
No, nothing has changed.
And I guess that's it for me. If you want to check out our stuff, we've got
our camera says battery abandoned, so I'll just put in a little note at the end there.
So if you're listening,
our camera literally just said battery abandoned.
As in, like, nice fucking try.
I told you, God left the building, now the camera's left the building.
Soon Satan himself is going to walk out of here.
Okay, sorry, our camera says battery abandoned.
We tried, but all you missed was us saying go follow us on social media and then complaining again that Christine has not been verified. But we made I realized something after the camera ended. I came here as an American and I'm leaving a Canadian. And that's why I drink chocolate milk. Bye!
Out of your weird ornament.
And that's why I drink maple syrup.
Bye!